a couple of times here in the past. I realize you really can't get as different between, from one poet to another, or from one writer to another, as you will from Alex and our next reader, Eric. Which is it is sort of like a study in contrast, or a little bit of a contrast, but that's kind of why I wanted to pair these two together. So I'm not going to give Eric a very long introduction, but I will say what I said about Eric last time, which is Eric reads poems like this. And he does this, and this. And that's a wonderful thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, Eric Alleman.
Thank you very much. What a wonderful introduction. Thank you very much, Nick Trankner. I was actually thinking about this because yesterday I remembered that I was supposed to read poems here. So I was thinking to myself, what should I do? What should I read for this particular poetry reading? And that of course, brought me to the question of why do I read poetry in the first place, right? Which, I mean, if you're really asking yourself, what are you going to read when you go to a particular poetry reading, the logical end to that thought is, why do you read poetry in the first place? And the reason I read poetry in the first place, the reason I write poetry in the first place, is to connect to a larger story. You know what I mean? Because it's difficult to get a whole story out. If you're sitting at a bar, the people sitting at the bar, and they're interrupting you and what have you. So it's always like, the poem for me, exactly, is like an on-ramp to the highway, the story. If you will allow me some poetic license by making an analogy from my poetry to a highway. So, the first one I will say, which is oddly enough something I didn't even realize, I just went out there and I pulled out a bunch of poems from my big piece because I was working tonight. I got my big folder full of poetry and crap that I've written, and I pulled out a bunch of stuff kind of at random, and then I figured what I would do is when I saw what was on top, I would tell you what caused me to write this poem. And I will be speaking directly to this person's back, who is talking to the dames right there. Hey, Chief, turn around, Smarty. Hey, dickhead, turn around or leave. There you go. Quit talking. Yeah, you won't regret it. You won't regret it. You'll be two IQ points smarter when you leave. First one. It's called Go On. Now, this was something I wrote when I first moved to an apartment in South Euclid, Ohio, from Columbus, Ohio. Now, this is after everybody thought I had stopped shooting dope, but of course I continued shooting dope because you don't stop shooting dope, like you wake up one morning and stop. And I didn't even realize what this poem meant until years later. Go on. There is a black line spreading from somewhere, and it is interfering with television and radio reception, as well as shorting out the electrical systems in the cars all over my neighborhood. I'm glad that I can use this as an excuse for not having to go into work today, but I'm a little concerned about what this black line is maybe doing to my brain. It is affecting my typewriter, obviously, as I'm writing this, because my typewriter isn't electric. Jason used to laugh and laugh as I struggled with bent keys and stuck hammers, but who's laughing now, Jason? I am. The black line looks like a long piece of seaweed stretching across the horizon, transparent, a chocolate brown where direct light shines through it. I can hear a faint hum. The humidity is rising like hot breath. The sky has turned a deep red like a coastal sunset. And with it being 2:30 in the afternoon, there is a sinister quality to it, a danger. The sky hangs like a thick curtain now. There are no clouds, but the very sky itself seems to have taken on mass, and it presses down on me. I can see out over the empty parking lot behind my apartment building, and I swear it seems that this red sky is dragging itself toward me, closer and closer to my open window, and it is now upon it. The thick curtain parts. The red human-headed bull has returned. 2 great billows of steam strike out from its gaping nostrils. I can feel the dampness of its mouth, can feel its madness. I thought I'd given this beast the slip for the last time, but it has found me again. The dead human eyes, red within red, stare blank dread at me. I am mesmerized, unable to move. As the red human-headed bull forces its bulk in through the open window, its horrible face inches from mine, its hot breath burning in my nostrils, and I am paralyzed with fear. With one sharp horn, it gores me in the stomach and pushes up under my rib cage. I can feel it searching, probing, lifting me off my feet. The thin tip slips into a vein in my chest, begins to crawl its way in as if the horn were barbed. I see the rest of the horn that's protruding from me soften and slither in like a snake catheter. In one fluid motion, the bull's red human head elongates, twisting and stretching into one hideous tendril. My heart races as it disappears into the now contracting hole in my gut. The neck disengages from the body of the bull, which totters, weaving for a moment, then collapses on its side, 2 of its legs sticking obscenely in the air. I can see huge ticks crawling in and out of the coarse hair on its sides and skittering across its smooth belly. Finally, the bull's body, in one delicate motion, pulls in on itself and with a faint pop vanishes. My aquarium hums back to life. The teapot lamp on my writing desk blazes. The electricity is on again. I hear a car turn over twice and then catch and roar to life. Shell will be home from work in minutes. Thank you very much. Somebody get me another beer. Jay? Yeah? That'd be great. It's called The Story of a Silhouette. I forgot that I like sunflowers. You see how easy it is? Sunflowers. Oh, you're going to break my heart if you leave. Yeah, take a hike. Sunflowers from that distant hill stretching to this, my distant hill. It just prod, poke, poke my mind. You see, I started this off as something beautiful. Now all I can think of are envelopes, heavy, leaden. But there is a brighter, lighter side. Delicate green curtains. I sleep all night since we hung them up. Before, I would lay sleepless, tense, craning my neck so the thin line of shade created by a single slat in the Venetian blinds would lay right across my eyes. I would fantasize, film noir-like, a dark meeting between 2 disconnected lovers. In this vision, I would never move except to speak. Always holding my head still on the thin pillow, I would be holding a black crucifix in my right hand over the comforter, the large beads spilling out of my hand, shining and sad in the dim light. She, the distant lover, would stand up from sitting on the edge of the bed, walk toward the bedroom door, stopping while her silhouette burns like a halo. You are the devil. You know that, don't you? She would say softly, comforting in its truth, then glide quietly down the stairs and into her waiting car. The young lady lay next to me, and a far-off voice would coo, "Are you all right?" "Is she gone?" I would ask. This pale, luminescent thing would step lightly to the window, folding down a single leaf of the blind, throwing a beam of street lamp across my face, and then let it snap back into place. Yes, she is gone. Then I am fine. Thank you very much. This poem is called The Inevitable Return. This is about being a douchebag. I've wasted so much time in some vain attempt to keep from becoming a schlub. I've got stacks of old newspapers by the door that I don't throw away because they are some kind of physical evidence that I am looking for a job. I borrow more money than I can ever hope to repay, and I think it's funny. But it isn't funny. It's gross. Gross in the way that I unwrap a pack of cigarettes while I'm waiting for my change. Smoking before I leave the store. Thinking the whole while cigarettes are the reason that I can't do anything right. Gross in the way that I hide track marks and money. Where does all our good stuff go? That's the worst question someone can ask you when you know the answer. Well, it's not over yet. This douchebag's just getting started. Gross in the way I'm telling you this. Obvious. Cowardice. Gross in the way I live in Cleveland, Ohio and hate cold weather and snow. Gross in that I believe all these problems would settle to the ground like so much ash if I would just have the guts to go ahead and be a drunk once and for all. My lying, forward morality just makes the ship sink faster. All this wasted ink just makes the water blue. Gross in the way only a man can be gross, centered in self. No concern for day or job or rent or pain, muscle, sex, horrible yellow skin, and all this said in a sad, delicate, feminine voice. I'm tired of words and the way my mind uses them. Everything is pedophilia. Everything is slow madness, softened by a sensitive pill. Fuck it. I'm not okay, and a job will not help.